Welcome to the Spark Report. John W. Davis and Pavi live on YouTube. HNB hot. It is sunny, almost slightly bit sweltering in LA. So I feel good. I got my vitamin D in the sun, so I feel good today. How about you, man?
I'm good. Shout out Dr. King. If I'm not mistaken, it's King's actual birthday.
Yes,
We
sir.
celebrate King Day on the
The
18th.
15th. Yep.
Yeah. We usually we recognize it on the 18th, but we celebrate it on the 15th. So shout out Dr. King. Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling great. Happy to be here. I have no complaints right now. I'm chilling. It's 80 degrees outside. I have no complaints.
Well, then I guess it's apropos that WNBA free agency begins on Dr. Martin Luther King
Like right
Jr.'s
now, actually.
birthday.
Like right
That
now.
it be yeah, but I'm saying that it begins on his birthday.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I know they probably didn't time it up like that, but things like that work out for a specific reason. So I think that kind of says something, because if we look at what this league did in 2020 and we look at the trajectory they have for 2021, which is going to be the 25th anniversary of the league, and then going forward, I think they're in a great position. And a lot of people are really looking at this WNBA free agency, and they're looking at the LA Sparks, because more than half the roster was some sort of free agent, had to be signed back to the team. And so we know NECA has been cored. We talked about that on the last episode when I said if anybody was going to get the Supermax contract, it had to be NECA. And what did they do? They didn't even leave it in her hands. They just said, okay, NECA, you're going to get this contract. Because if you leave it up to NECA, she's so selfless. She might be like, well, I want to be a part of the team and this, that, and the other. Nah, you need Supermax.
We went through that before. No, she ain't. no, she ain't. It wouldn't be a good business move by any of the top players, Candace included, even Chelsea. It wouldn't be but as I said before, if you could rationalize one person not getting the max, it would be her. But it wouldn't be a good business move by any of them.
Well, she is most likely going to be the only player on this team with a Supermax.
Who?
NECA.
NECA, yes.
NECA is going to be the highest paid player on the LA Sparks.
Well deserved.
Second right now is Christy Toliver. Let me pull up my sheet. Second is Christy Toliver's salary at $190,550. And that is what Candace Parker and Chelsea Gray would also be eligible for. Now, will they get the regular max? Yes. We'll have to talk about. You think they will? You think both of them will get the regular max?
The thing about Chelsea is the one where, because also
I have a scenario for you where they can get the regular max, but preview for later on in the show, the team is going to have to play with 11 players if they want to give Candace Parker and Chelsea Gray super maxes.
Depending on what the season is like, this also the thing right now. We don't know what the season is going to look like next year. We don't know if it's going to be a condensed schedule. I mean, they allegedly they're having the Olympics next year. We allegedly don't know
this year. This year.
Allegedly, we don't know for sure. I meant like next basketball season, but like allegedly we don't know for sure. We don't know what the season is going to look like. Is it going to be a bubble? Or are they going to travel? Or like how are games going to go? So I can't really speak to if 11 players make sense. If it's going to be a regular season, like as in the regular season that we had, the 2019 season, then okay, cool. I think 11 players can suffice. If you're gonna have a season like you had last year, when you even mentioned like depth is gonna be a huge thing because you're playing sometimes 3 games in 1 week. Even though you were staying in one site, still 3 games in 1 week has to add up. I would think at least.
I think they probably, if you look at the salaries, the best way to pay the players as much as you can is you have 11 players, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. But they probably would be better off having 12 players for various reasons. There's 2 of these players who are going to be on the Olympic team, Chelsea Gray and Nneka Ogwumike. So they're going to have extra work, okay? And then what was one of the problems with last season? They didn't get to practice. It's going to be tough to practice if you only have 11 players.
Yeah, somebody gets hurt.
And somebody's hurt. Somebody's hurt. It's just first team, second team. That's it. Yeah. You can't really, you can switch up things, but then you're changing the rhythm of the whole team. So having 12 allows them to practice more. But having 12 means that Candace, Chelsea, and Chanae can't get anywhere close. Well, I don't want to say can't get anywhere close, but Candace and Chelsea are probably not going to get a regular max if they want to have 12 players. It's really hard to afford 12 players.
See,
if they're getting that max, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible.
But again, that's the reason why I said if I could see anybody leaving, I think it's Chelsea Gray. I think that would be a hard decision.
But she loves Candace Park. She's not leaving without Candace, and she can't make Candace go with her.
How do you know that? Again,
how do I know that? Because everything I've heard her say for the past 2 years makes it sound like Chelsea Gray wants to play with Candace Parker for the rest of Candace Parker's WNBA career.
A lot of people say a lot of things, and then money gets involved, business gets involved, and things switch. So if I could see anybody leaving, I think it would be Chelsea Gray. Like I said, also I think that's the person the organization could rationalize having to take a pay cut, and maybe she doesn't want to do that. But again, like her, I had to go back.
Well, she's making her bag right now overseas, and that's what she's always said, that she goes overseas to make her money. She's making the money right now. So if she has to go down in salary, maybe 15, 20,000 to make all this work, I think Chelsea Gray would be willing to give up $15,000 or $20,000.
But see, then it also depends on agents. Like, do you want to set, like, does that agent want to set that precedent for their client? So it depends on a lot, which is also why I said that I can't see NECA or Candace not taking the max, because of it would just be a bad precedent for the league.
Then they have to have 11 players. Then they have to agree that they're going to have 11 players. If Candace and Chelsea want the regular max, they're not getting the super max. Both of them, they just cannot both get the super max. That's impossible. So if they want to get the regular max of 190, 550, then you got to have 11 players.
But I think both deserve it. I think you could.
You think both deserve what? The super max or the regular max?
I think both deserve the super max. But as far as super max, I obviously both of them cannot get that. It's just not possible. But I think they deserve it. So if nothing less, they have to get the max. Like I said, if there's one person that I think you could rationalize taking a pay cut, it's Chelsea Gray, just because she doesn't have the cash in the league.
Well, this is the thing. Chelsea Gray was making like 180 something last year. So Chelsea Gray's salary needs to be closer in line to the regular max. So she's not really taking a pay cut. But Candace Parker made about 120 last year.
Which is
okay. So, which is ridiculous, like you said. So she made 120. And so if she goes up 50,000, she's technically making more, but she's not making the max. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the flexibility there that they're going to have to make all this work.
She deserves a max, bro. If I'm Derek Fisher, because he's the general manager now. So if I'm Derek Fisher, especially with the history that those two had, I don't think it was much history. I think it's a lot. I think it was blown out of proportion. But with the history that those two have, when Candace walks down, you hand her the check that got the 190 on it, sign this.
No, you don't, because what you do is you hand Candace the keys to help recruit for the team. If Candace, yes, you let Candace say, Candace, hey, we're trying to get. No, we're saying no. But Candace Parker has influence. If Candace Parker calls up Alicia Gray on Dallas and says, hey, I want you, we're not going to be able to keep Brittany Sykes. We want you to come here and be our starting small forward. That's what you got to do to get players.
And but at the same time, her taking a pay cut to do that isn't her job.
It's not a pay cut. It's not a pay cut. She made 120. Stop saying pay cut.
Okay, pay cut, but her not.
It's not a pay cut.
Listen, her taking the money that she is more than deserving of, especially with the way she played last year. You mean to tell me she's not deserving of a max contract? To me,
I'm not saying that.
To me, you have to take care of your players. Taking care, if I am the Sparks, taking care of Candace Parker is giving her a max contract.
Then you're saying bye to Brittany Sykes.
It is what it is. Again,
then let me run. If this is what you want, and that this is the scenario that I thought you wanted, let me run it down for you then. So you're gonna have to pay NECA about $221,450. Okay, that's the 1 year super max. She could possibly have more years. You got Christy Toliver in at a regular max, $190,550. Okay, then you have Taya Cooper, who has the training camp deal, but Her salary is a bargain, so you got to keep her. 58,710 plus they want to keep her. Same thing with Maria Vadiba, 58,710. You want to keep her because look at the contract, the value you're getting from her. Sydney Weiss, 80,000. You want to keep Sydney Weiss or you want to cut her?
I want Sydney Weiss.
So you're keeping Sydney Weiss at 80,000.
I'm gonna tell you what really should happen. This is not gonna happen, but I think you should trade Shanae. It's not gonna happen because her sister was on the team, but I think you should. But I think that is the one you should trade her and get some other pieces, some other guards. I think even as it still stands now, Maria needs more playing time. Like if she goes anywhere else, she's a starter on probably every team in the WNBA. Almost every team in the WNBA, she's probably a starter.
They have that right, but let me still keep working down here. So do you want to keep your first round pick this year? This is a question for you, GM Pavy. Do you want to keep the first round pick this year?
No, because I think that we're trying to win right now.
So you're getting rid of that pick. Okay.
I don't mind getting rid of that pick.
Okay, but this is what I'm going to tell you though. If you don't keep that person and you get a different person, even at the lowest you can, you're only going to save $6,000. The first round pick is only going to make $64,375. The lowest you can pay somebody, say like a Christina Nigwe type contract, is $58,710. So you're not saving much money not keeping your first round pick. But do whatever you want. You don't have to have that person. Do you want to keep TRP? 90,000.
Is she on contract right now? She's on contract, yes.
She is, but it's unprotected. So you can cut her and not have to pay her contract. The only two people who have protected contracts are NECA and Christy Toliver. Everybody else can go.
I mean, I think like Marie can go. I want Sydney. I want Maria.
I have Raquana going, Simone going, Rashonda Gray going, and I have you having to cut Gulich because she has an unprotected contract.
Gulich and Anigwe is borderline for me. If I'm keeping Shanae and if she's actually gonna play, then I don't think I need Anigwe.
The only thing about Anigwe is her contract is the bare minimum. She has the best contract you can get. So you can say she's a placeholder or whatever, but you're going to have somebody at that level, 58,710, whether it's her or whether you're bringing over some of your overseas players or something like that. But like, that's a placeholder contract. Fair. So at that point, so you're not did you say you were keeping TRP or you're not keeping TRP?
I'm going to keep TRP.
Okay, right now, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. Let me see. 1, 2. You're not keeping the first round pick, right?
I'm probably giving it up.
You're giving it up. Okay.
Wait, real quick. The draft is in April, right?
Yeah.
And they can't officially sign until February 1st, right?
Right.
I'm gonna deliberate about this period right then. I'm gonna deliberate about this period in my mind. But in my mind, I'm saying I'm gonna trade it.
Okay. And then you're not keeping your second or third round pick. Like none of your draft picks making your roster is what you're saying. Because technically a second or third round pick is cheaper to pay just by like 6,000. So let's see.
I would
1, 2, 3. Go ahead.
I would probably keep my second round pick for one because I think there is always great value to be found in the second round just for the fact that the first round is like 12 players. So just because you were second round draft pick doesn't mean that you were not as good as somebody else.
Oh, most definitely.
Players. So it's like,
okay.
Yeah,
so you're keeping a draft pick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you will have a rookie on this team.
I would have
from 2021.
I would personally have a rookie on my team.
Okay.
Yes. So then there with like 2 or 3 rookies. No.
So with keeping TRP then, so you're about for 7 players, you're at about $760,000 approximately. And the cap is 1.33900. So it's basically 1.3 and a half. So now you got less than 600. You got about 575,000 for 4 or 5 players. And you have not paid Candace, Chelsea, Brittany Sykes, Chinea Gumake. You see what I'm saying? Now you see why I'm saying it's really hard for them to get the max. Because these people these are like, you have to have people at 58,710. Like that's the bare minimum you can pay players. They could literally have a team of, if they paid the Supermax to NECA, Candace, Chelsea, and then paid Christy Toliver her 190, I don't even think they could afford 7 other players at 60,000. You see what I'm saying? So it's like impossible.
I hear you.
It's mathematically impossible.
I hear you and I feel you. I don't think Shanae.
So that's why I'm saying regular max. If you want them to get a max, they can get a regular max.
Yeah.
So now we go down that list at 190, 550 for Candace, 190, 550 for Chelsea Gray. Now you got about $225,000 left between Shanae and Brittany Sykes, or if you want 3 players. So for 2 players. But the problem is Brittany Sykes is unrestricted. If she signs for 150 somewhere, she gone. Unless Chelsea and Candace are giving some of her salary to Brittany Sykes. That's why the flexibility is in Candace and Chelsea Gray's contracts. And we haven't even mentioned any free agents. I haven't even got a chance to ask you, like, who do you want to try to sign? Because they're going to cost money too.
The main person I think they should try to sign, because I think that they need more shooters. When her name popped up on the list, if I'm not mistaken, let me make sure before I say her name. Alicia Clark. Now I don't know how much it costs, but the main person, just when I look at what she
every team should try to get Alicia Clark. Agreed.
Just because of her shooting, I think she was shot 40% from 3 last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So, but if you want Alicia Clark, you probably gonna realistically. So I said you had what, 225 left. I said you had about 225. Realistically, she's probably going to need about 175 of that. And so you still don't have enough to sign your 11th player. So still somebody's going to have to back off their contract.
I think that Chelsea and
Candace going to have to figure that out if they want to bring somebody in like that.
But see, my opinion with Candace is that, like, when I'm just looking at it from an optic standpoint and for what she has meant to the league and also to your franchise through all these years. I'm paying her. I know it may set me back or whatever. It's kind of like what the Lakers did with Kobe. You're paying her because
the salary cap was way higher for them, though.
I understand that, but also at the same time, Kobe getting that $24 million kind of messed up the Lakers because he didn't need to take that contract at that point in time. If he took less, maybe you could have signed somebody else. Maybe you could have given, somebody else some money, or maybe things would have worked out differently. But for what he did for the organization for all those years, he was worth that money. WNBA players have never been able to make this much money. So
right,
pay Candace this money, the 190, not the Supermax, the 190, because of what she's done for your organization, what she's done for the league, and also because of her play last year. Now it's not that she was
then
bad.
Chelsea Gray is giving money back.
Did she had
Chelsea Gray is giving money back, and then you're telling me that if Chinea Agumake wants to play on this team, she's literally taking the veterans minimum.
I don't, but see the thing about Chinea. It's like, I love Chinea. Shout out Chinea. I just think that you need more guards. You have enough bigs, and I think Maria Vadiva needs to play if you're gonna have her on this team, because I think she's being held back by just sitting on the bench and playing 5, 7, 8 minutes. And also with Chelsea, she's also the one, based off her last season performance, you could argue she does not need the max based off of her last season performance. Now, if her contract came up 2019, she might get the super max. But based off her performance last season, you could argue she's not a max player.
You could.
I think she is.
Will other free agent teams argue that? Other free agent teams will be like, here, how much can we pay you to come?
Okay, then you take that money and then you go get a Alicia Clark and you sign Brittany Sykes and you hope that she doesn't get offered by 150 from somebody else, and you get Alicia and you get Brittany and you pair that with Christy and you have Candace and you have Nega. I still think you have a great team. You
do. You would have a really great team.
In some way, you might be slightly better in some ways because you have a knockdown shooter.
And you still talk about 11 players. We still ain't created a scenario where you get 12 players. If you pay people,
they have a very interesting situation, and Fish.
And then that means that when NECA is talking and saying we have the league of the best 144 players, she can't say that because her team has 11. There's going to be several teams in this league that are not even going to have full rosters because they have to pay people what they're worth. So they won't even have a full league, right? They won't even have a full league until it gets further on in the season, and then you can afford more players.
Look, Fish has his work cut out for him. But if we speak and talk about Candace or who needs to possibly not take the full amount of money that they might be worth, I just think, like I've said from day one,
it's Candace
on Chelsea. No,
it's Candace, because you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic about this path. You got to be realistic about this. And this is why I say you got to be realistic about this. What difference? I hate getting in people's pockets, but I'm going to have to do it. What difference is it going to make in Candace Parker's life that she made an extra $40,000 to $80,000 from the Sparks?
What you mean? Yeah, I think anybody would take another $48,000, especially in the world that we live in today. I think everybody.
When her ultimate goal is to win a championship, this is the thing. Would you pay $40,000 to $80,000 to win a championship? That's basically the question for Candace Parker. Is she willing to give up unrealized earnings for a championship?
They can still, but I think they can still work the roster and still do that.
With who?
Christy Toliver, Christy Toliver is coming back.
You will literally have the only people on the team that will be making above the minimum will be, if they do it this way, will be NECA, Christy Toliver, Candace, and Chelsea. And then Sydney Weiss making 80. That's it. Everybody else has to make the bare minimum.
You can't win with that?
Depends on who these bare minimum players are. If you can get Alina Iguapova to come over, sure.
You talking about 4 All-Stars and 4 arguably not arguably. You talking about 4 of the top 25 players in the league, arguably top 20. You can't win with that?
I don't know if you could beat Seattle.
You got your work cut out for you, but you can't win with that? Again, and also
you can win a lot of games with that, but I don't know if you can win a championship with that. You got to have a little bit more depth. You have no margin for error if that's your team.
Okay.
No margin for error. When you easily could say, well, if everybody just takes a little bit less, because we know that you have other income sources. This is the thing. This is not somebody's main income.
Yeah, I'm not get that.
This is not Candace's main income. This is not Chelsea's main income. This is probably not Christy Tolliver's main income anymore.
I get that. I just believe in paying people, especially when it comes to not again, like I said a million times. Candace and NECA, I believe in paying them what they're worth. I think what they've done for the league and what they've done for the Sparks organization, they are worth maximum money. Period.
If they would have given them an extra $200,000, if they would have made this salary cap 1.6 and kept the salary scales that way, max everybody out, give everybody exactly what they're worth, super max, you can slide in players and everything like that. But they gave them some restraints because they basically said, hey, the best players in the league can make an extra 100,000, but the salary cap is only going up 30%.
That's the issue with Supermax.
Something has to give.
That's like the issue with Supermax deal in general. Like they're all bad deals technically across pretty much every sport because it kind of handicaps your team once you give out one. This is the issue with Supermax.
But NECA is worth it. NECA is the captain of the team. NECA is worth it.
Of course.
And I agree with you. Candace is worth as much as the Sparks can pay her. But you got to remember, the Sparks have, and the league has, those promotional dollars, those marketing dollars that they can pay on the back end to compensate somebody outside of traditional salary. So they can work some different things like that if they just really need to get to a certain level, certain number where you give that person the rest of the money outside of the traditional salary cap. So you got to think about these alternative ways that you can pay players too.
I get that.
Candace just bought a new house with her previous income. She's not checking for this little bit of money, man.
I get that.
She's trying to win championships.
I get that 1,000%. But like I said, I don't think it's on her to not take what she's worth. I think that's on the organization to figure it out. I don't think
it is if she can tell. It is if she can get Alicia Clark or Alicia Gray, or she can help retain Brittany Sykes.
She can get those anyway. With still getting the money that
she can't.
worth.
We just went over this exercise. She can't.
Listen. You thinking about bringing the same team back? I'm not necessarily thinking about bringing the same team back.
So you're saying Chelsea Gray is gone, and I'm getting better another way.
She might not. She might. Yeah, but again, this is what I've said since the first episode.
Okay.
She might be the one who happens to get left out. If she wants the max, she might be the one who might have to explore at other places. I love Chelsea. I think she's great. Love talking to her. But when I look at the roster, I look at NECA and Candace, my two top, even based off performance.
Then I would counter back that Candace Parker, from everything I know about Candace Parker, and as much as I've talked to her, I feel like Candace Parker would give some of that salary back to afford Chelsea Gray. Okay,
well, look, if she wants to do that, fine. Then that's completely on her. But I am approaching Candace Parker with max money. Now, if she look at me and she want to tell me, oh no, I'll take 170 because I want you to take care of that person. Okay, cool. But I'm not gonna put that on her initially. Like, I'm not gonna approach her with 150. Because again, me as a organization, that's my job to figure out.
But she's a very smart person. Like, she knows that if she gets this money, like, she can do the math just like you and I. She knows if she gets this money, it will handicap this team.
Again, like I said, if that's what she wants to do, that is on her. But I'm not gonna approach her with less than what I think she's worth, especially what she finished second MVP on last year, second or third. She was a defensive player of the year. Yes. I don't know many defensive player of the years who don't get the max. I don't know many. So I'm not gonna approach her with anything less than that. Like I said, based off of performance last year, Chelsea is the one who, based off performance, because you are worth what I last saw you. What I last saw her last season, that wasn't.
But you got to think about this like investing. Think about this as investing.
I get it.
You're buying future performance. You don't pay for past performance.
Of course.
Whatever somebody has done in the past, that was done in the past at the rate that they made. That's also right. And when you get in that situation where you're paying for past performance, that's when you get into a Kobe Bryant contract. That's when you get into a huge Chris Paul contract.
I was also thinking about future too, though, because again, Kobe filled that stadium up a lot of nights. If we got fans back in this stadium,
but I'm talking about I'm talking about this new monetary value. That's when you get into like, who is somebody who you think is overpaid right now in the league? Not the WNBA, the NBA.
Overpaid?
For what their value is. We'll just call. We don't have to say a specific player. That's fine.
No, I'm trying to think of somebody, but it's like I can like rationalize everybody's deal or like how it came about.
Yeah, right. I can I want to say John Wall, but I mean, he got hurt.
Wall, but yeah, he
got hurt, so you can't renegotiate that.
Exactly.
Mike Conley.
Fair.
Mike Conley. Okay, so Mike Conley was paid for past performance. Mike Conley's game right now is not worth the money he's being paid. He will never be paid that much again in the history of basketball.
This is true.
He may make that much money in a private venture. Sure. I'm not going to put any limitations on Mike Conley's life. But in the NBA, he's never going to make that much money. So they paid him for past performance. You don't want to pay for past performance. You want to pay going forward. Like, when I invest in stocks, I don't invest for what they did yesterday. I invest for what they're going to do tomorrow and the next tomorrow and 10 and 20 years from now.
I'm investing in Candace for that same reason too, though, by the way. That said the
valid. But that's why I'm investing in Chelsea Gray, for that same reason.
That's fair. But again, she's also the one where it may, if it's between Chelsea and Candace, I'm picking Candace. I'm sorry. Now, again, like I said, if Candace wants to come to me and tell me, like, if her and Fish sit down, she's like, you know what? I understand what me taking this money will do to this team. So even though you offer me, I would like to respectfully decline this. I will take less money, and I would rather you dish this out other ways. Okay, cool. But as an organization, because of what she's meant to that team and what she's meant to the league, I will not approach her with anything less than max money.
Okay. And in my mind, if that's going to be the case, and I know fans are not going to like this, but Candace Parker needs to be one of the last players to sign with the Sparks for the 2021 season.
That's cool.
She's going to have to be one of the last players if you want some flexibility with this roster. if you want to see the possibility of getting, Brittany Sykes back, or if you don't keep Brittany Sykes, getting somebody of her caliber to be the starting small forward. If you want to get Kayla McBride, I don't think they can get Alicia Clark. I don't see it. But if you want to try to get Alicia Gray or somebody like that, you want to pay Laney, whoever you want to try to get, like Candace Parker is going to have to be the last one to slide in there. And I believe that an analytical person like Michael Fisher, and even a person who respects analytics like Derek Fisher, I think they can figure that out, how to make it work. And you got to also remember, they got an extra $60,000 essentially to play with, $58,000, Taya Cooper's contract. It's not guaranteed. It's a training camp contract. We both know that Taya Cooper is probably going to be on this team, barring something crazy happening like an injury. She's going to be on this team. They want her on this team. Everybody does. But yeah, they need her. But you don't have to count that as a cap hit yet until it's time, until the season starts. So they have some flexibility in there. So if they can do that, then they can push this down the road a little bit. If you're signing people to training camp contracts and it's understood that, like, yeah, we're keeping you, but we have to do it this way so we can get everybody in and then figure it out. Another thing they can do, which we barely saw them do the year that we were able to attend practice, and that they could do more, if they are going to have 11 players on this team, they must bring in practice players almost every single day. If they commit to bringing in practice players, and they usually bring in male practice players, then they probably can do with 11.
See. But also think about that. We don't know what the world's going to be like. It's not a regular. It's not like a regular year. So it's like,
that's true. That's a good point. How do you quarantine practice players?
Yeah. Like,
that's a great point. Yeah, that only makes sense.
I don't know if
that doesn't make sense in a normal situation. That would make sense. So again, that makes it really seem like you need 12. So then somebody got to get some money back. NECA can't do it, because NECA, when you get cored, that means you have to be paid the Supermax. It's like a franchise tag. She has to be paid that much.
But they did. But they
did right by her.
They did right by her.
No, definitely. There was a scenario in my mind where all of them could make about 175, and then they could give back enough money to be able to afford that extra player. But clearly that's not happening now when you have
also, personally, I'm not a person that thinks they need to make vast changes. You're getting a top 25 player back in Christy Toliver, and you're getting
So Christy Toliver is your free agent signing since she hasn't played.
Her and Janae, she ain't played with this team. Like, and Maria was overseas. I don't understand this metric of like they don't have enough. Yes, they do. You got like 4 top 25 players. How much else you need?
Preach.
And Brittany Sykes, if she stays, she has played like a top 25 player at times last year.
She blocks like one.
How like what else? What else do you need? At some point in time, y'all gotta hunker down and just play better.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, it's on them.
Even them losing the way they lost to like Connecticut, that shouldn't have happened like that. A double team shouldn't have done that to Chelsea.
But you talking about the first time or the second time?
Both times. That shouldn't happen. At what point do they have to take the way they lost to Connecticut the first time? I think John Core Jones did some amazing things, but they shouldn't have lost like that. They got out-rebounded by 28 in one game. At what point do y'all look in the mirror and say, hey, it's on us? Ain't nobody coming here to save us. It's on us to just play better. On the organization as a whole. Fish got to coach better. The players got to play better. At what point is it just on them?
Right. And now Fish got a GM better. What do you think about Derek Fisher being GM?
I want to see. What happens. I think coaches being GM sometimes are bad decisions. So I think coaches sometimes can get attached to things. Get emotionally attached to things, and maybe whereas somebody who's in an organizational position can be a little bit further away from the situation and see it for what it really is and really make some of those tough decisions, as well coaches being a little bit closer sometimes can't. But I would just like to see, where it goes. I mean, I think last year, what was he basically the active standing GM last year?
No, it was Fisher, more Fisher, the other Fisher, Michael.
We'll see. We'll see.
Congratulations to Michael Fisher for getting his promotion to, I believe, it's vice president of player personnel. So congratulations to him too. But yeah, no, I think it allows him to be more invested. And I think it's important. And I was listening to Cheryl Reeve, the Minnesota Lynx head coach and GM's podcast the other day, and she was talking about, why are some of these, college coaches who have these big names, say like, Nikki McCray or Tina Thompson. I'm just throwing out like big names who you think would be like really good WNBA coaches, Dawn Staley, Adia Barnes at Arizona, players like that, former players like that. And like, there's a difference in the amount of money you make in college and the amount of money you're going to make as a coach and a GM in the WNBA. So like, the more they can have Derek Fisher invested in what he's doing and keep him in this mindset year round, I think that's better.
Yeah, but same time that come with pressure, because ain't no, they didn't give me what I need. Nah, you was the GM. So yeah.
And again, right. it's like another person. Like, I don't think I'm sure Derek Fisher enjoys getting paychecks from the Sparks, but Derek Fisher is not working for the Sparks solely for the money.
Of course. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of players in the WNBA who are not even playing in the WNBA solely for the money. Like, when you can go overseas and make $1 million, and then we're over here discussing the difference between a regular max and a super max is 190 and 221, but overseas you can make $1 million. Like, that in itself, the fact that you're still going to get paid 4 to 5 times more overseas as a super max player compared to here, that's still a travesty.
Of course.
That's still a travesty.
Of course.
So, unrestricted free agents on the Sparks. I just want to say this because we haven't mentioned some players. So it's Candace Parker, Chelsea Gray, Raquana Williams, Simone Augustus, Rashonda Gray. Those are unrestricted free agents. 3 of those names I don't see coming back.
I agree.
I guess somehow if they saved enough money, I guess I could see Simone Augustus coming back for the veterans minimum if you could make it work. But even still, I think you probably would want more of a guard.
I agree.
Than what they use Simone as. I don't see Rashonda Gray coming back because they didn't even play her in the Wubble. If she was going to get playing time, she was going to get it in the Wubble. I love Gray, but I don't see it. Raquana Williams, I think that she can do some damage for some teams in the league. I think she could do some damage. Imagine her coming off the bench for the Las Vegas Aces, the way that they struggle to get shots off the bench sometimes. Imagine her coming off the bench for, say, like, even like the Connecticut Sun. Like, imagine some of these teams where you look at the starting guards and then the backup guards, and they have this huge drop-off level. Mm-hmm. Like, Raquana is perfect for those teams. But the amount of money that she's worth, Sparks can't pay it. Like, she was a player that was making about 120, 117-ish. She was making a previous max. They can't afford to pay her that.
We have Christy coming in, and I want to be able to give her the ball as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
As well. Yeah, so that's
so then you got the core player, the 2016 MVP NECA, cored her, move forward with NECA. And then you got that restricted free agent, Brittany Sykes. I was on the Winsider podcast, shout out to them, with REA Schwartz, and I said that my number one priority is to bring back Brittany Sykes. But to me, if you do that, you got to set aside some money, or you either have to have a conversation with Brittany Sykes and tell her either
how much you love LA.
Right. How much you love LA, how much you love LA / don't accept something we can't afford to pay you.
That too.
Or accept something we can afford to pay you.
Or no, but seriously, like, also with her, like, this could be a Jeremy Grant situation. You know, Jeremy
Yes.
Grant, he wanted to leave for a bigger role. And she had the place in her career where she's like, yo, I want to leave and
shout out
become
to the Orange, Syracuse Orange, both Syracuse Orange.
Syracuse Orange. Like, she had the place in her career after the success she found last year where she's like, yo, I want just a bigger role. I want to like go somewhere and be a star.
This is my thing. This is my thing. Brittany Sykes has a history of injuries. She basically made it through the wobble unscathed, except when she got, that knee to the abdomen area and she was out for a couple games to the stomach. But if I'm Brittany Sykes, I'm going to find, if I can't get a certain level from the Sparks, if the Sparks are not setting aside 125 to 150 for me, if they can't figure out how to do that, I would really look at trying to find a team that's going to give me multiple years on a guaranteed contract at 150 or above with her injury history. I think if she can secure, what would that be? 450,000 guaranteed from some team going forward for the next 3 years. She's got to think really long and hard about that, because Brittany Sykes has been playing year-round basketball for essentially as long as she's been out of Syracuse. And she's been out for a while now. She took them to the national championship game. That was years and years ago now. So she's got to think long and hard about that, because what good does it do Brittany Sykes to have like a 1 or 2 year contract and then, things don't work out and then something happened and, she's not worth as much, or she just out the league.
Yeah.
Like that's somebody who needs to secure the bag. Yeah,
she's been around 7 years now, but as you said, she's playing year round. So really it's like she's been around 11 years.
Right.
10, 11 years.
Right.
She's like 26, but how much of an actual 26 is that?
Right.
26?
So really Brittany, if you're watching this, Slim, Bundles, Sasson, if you're watching this or if you hear about this, somebody offers you a bag, take it and let them figure it out. Take it and let them figure it out.
But also, I love Brittany, and also like if somebody wants to pay her 150, I think she's worth it personally, especially our performance last year. Like I think she's worth it. I think that she is a player. Literally, if I go walk in the mirror and I look at what I did last year, she's already a really good defensive player. To me, she also has the ability to be a 15, 16 point per game scorer. Like she's shifty, she can shoot, she can drive, she plays hard.
And basically you paying about 10,000 per point.
Yeah. To me, she's
just like Sydney Weeks. If Sydney Weeks was on the open market, she'd get more than 80 from some team in the league when she was shooting 50% from three for most of the season.
To me, she is a person who has all-star type potential. She has all WNBA team type potential. Now, she wouldn't be a perennial of that nature, but she can make it once or twice. I think she can at least. So if
we know there's one team she's not going to. See, Atlanta Dream.
Yeah, Atlanta isn't gonna get any free agents at all, and everybody might leave, and everybody might leave Atlanta unless somebody like LeBron comes in and takes it over, which we saw his tweet. Which I
don't even think it has to be LeBron. I think it just needs to be anybody but
anybody else.
Anybody but the former senator,
preferably a black person.
Yes, and hopefully a black woman.
That would also be amazing, especially in Atlanta. That would also be amazing. I think it would be incredible for that culture if they could get a black woman to take over that franchise.
Man, you know who needs to sign over some of her book deal money and buy the Atlanta Dream?
Michelle Obama.
You read my mind. Yes.
It would be incredible.
Basketball connection. Her brother, Craig Robinson, used to be the head coach at Princeton.
Had no idea that.
He played at Princeton. He used to be the head coach at Oregon State.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, she has a basketball family. Obviously, Mr. Obama loves basketball.
Yeah.
Imagine if he was a co-owner. Like, come on, man.
It'd be great.
That would be super dope.
And also, I just think for like the culture of Atlanta, just like going to Atlanta being like Black Hollywood.
Yeah.
The things that black women do. Like, it's a lot of successful black women that are in Atlanta. I think if you could get a black person, a black woman in that franchise, it could be a marquee franchise in the league for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. They would instantly be able to change recruiting.
Exactly.
If they get that right person.
Who don't want to kick it in Atlanta for 3 months in the summer? I kick it in Atlanta for 3 months in the summer. Why not?
But who doesn't want to kick it in LA for 3 months in the summer?
That too. Luckily for the W, it's like most of these places happen this summer. So even a place like Minnesota, it don't really matter that you going to Minnesota because you're there in the summertime.
Another place I could see Brittany Sykes going, and like they could pay her, like they could almost pay her a regular max if they wanted to. New York Liberty.
I was thinking New York as well.
If they want to offer her 190, Brittany Sykes, you better go on to Brooklyn. You better go on to Brooklyn and take that money.
I agree.
Because you know the Sparks are not going to pay you a regular max.
I agree.
If the Minnesota Lynx want to pay above, you consider that too. Imagine Brittany Sykes next to Nafisa Collier and Crystal Dangerfield and Sylvia Fowles. Like, there's so many teams she could fit with. Obviously, we know she's not going to the Storm. She probably wouldn't end up on the Mystics. She probably wouldn't end up on the Sky.
Or the Mercury. I don't think
or the Mercury. The Mercury don't really have money like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're talking about these middle tier teams. So you either stand here trying to win a championship or you getting paid. And when I say paid, you better get paid. Like you better end up over 3 years with like 450 to 550,000 guaranteed. And it better be a guaranteed contract too. Because you get 6 guaranteed contracts. It better be one of those. So that's my thing on her. Let me see. And we talked about Chanae before. Shout out to Chanae. I don't know if you can tell, but in the background, I actually got her shirt up there on the wall. But that's the thing, man. She has so much flexibility, yet she's in a unique situation where she can really only negotiate with the Sparks. But she has the flexibility to control whether this team pays certain players or whether they don't pay certain players and they just have to pay her because she is who she is. I personally think that she's been working on her game. I personally think there's a role for her. I personally think that they could have her and Vadiva and Candace and NECA and still make it work. But you got to keep the minutes down.
If she can stretch her game out to the 3.
She's trying. She's trying. She's working on it.
I think that would be huge for her if she can just stretch her game out to the 3.
Yeah, I agree. No, she has. Look, if NECA can shoot threes, Chanae should be able to shoot threes too.
Because I do think that she's a great 6 woman for the team next year. You know, I think she can kind of come off the bench and, you know, just provide hustle, energy, like not like kind of like what Montrez did for the Clippers. I think she can kind of do that for the Sparks, but she has to come back with some type of developed 3. She don't have to go out there and shoot 5 a game, but she has to be able to space the floor, especially thinking of the fact I have Christy and I have
1 out of 3. 1 out of 3. 1 out of 3.
I need driving lanes for Christy and Chelsea. I need driving lanes for Christy and Chelsea.
And if she's going to come back, I've been talking about this for years. Like, there's going to come a point where even for 2 or 3 minutes a game, like they're going to have to play three of those 4 at the same time. I know you don't like that idea, but they're going to have to do it.
I don't like it because I didn't like it because they couldn't shoot that well. But if they can all shoot above 35%, or at least around 35%.
You feel like Candace can shoot now? She shot 36 last year, I believe.
If she can stay at 36%, cool. I think because I think the year when we had this argument, she was at like 30, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't she?
Oh, yes.
That ain't it. That ain't it. If she can shoot 30, 35, 36%, I think NECA was around like 35, 36 last year as well.
Right.
And that's cool.
We know Vadiva can shoot about that.
Yeah, then like that's cool. That's fine.
I'm not saying you start all 3 of them. I'm not saying you do it like 2K and you start NECA at the 3 or no. I'm not saying that.
5 minutes at a time.
Yeah, not even 5 minutes at a time. Just like 2 or 3, because it's only 10-minute quarters.
Fair. I just think that in the WNBA, there's no reason to not have 5 shooters on the court at all points in time. It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. You know, you and I have talked about that. Everybody, I mean, even Liz Cambage can shoot.
If you're
one of the tallest players in the league.
If you 6'7", you should probably shoot more threes because it's probably easier for you to shoot. So it just don't compute to me that in W everybody doesn't shoot threes. It just doesn't. But that's a whole other.
They're moving that way. They're moving that way. And then, do I have any other free agents that we need to mention? And then, obviously, shout out to Taya Cooper for re-signing on January 11th.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it before the show. But what did well, first of all, what do you think she's gonna bring? What do you think is the next development for her game? Like, what does she need to develop?
She said that she wanted to be Defensive Player of the Year and make a all defense team. If she can do that, then I think her offense just needs to stay about the same. But I think her desire is there. I just think that on offense, I think she can help the ball move a little bit more.
That's fair.
I think sometimes that she was, because once Christy Toliver's there, and say you bring somebody else in, like, she won't be able to be as aggressive as she was in the Wubble, because there'll be some people who are statistically much better than her at making a shot. So if she can be a player that doesn't let the ball stick, if she can be a player that if I'm open, I shoot it, if I'm not, I pass or drive, and it's literally just like that quick of a decision, then I think she can be really good. I don't know about making, being Defensive Player of the Year, but I think it's great to have 3 people on the team who are proclaiming that they want to be Defensive Player of the Year, which is Candace, Brittany Sykes, and Taya Cooper. I think that's great. I think Taya Cooper is, I don't want to say she's fine with coming off the bench, but she knows how to accept the role. Mm-hmm. So
I think
she can learn a lot from Christy Toliver.
I think that personally for her, and number one for her brand, I think LA is an incredible place. She does what she does outside of basketball, but I don't think it would have translated as much as she was with the Sparks. I think that, the Sparks are probably the most recognizable organization in the league. And for her,
if she was on the Phoenix Mercury, nah.
Yeah, I don't think it would translate the same. Or like Dallas Wings, I don't think it would translate the same. So me, as far as her aggressiveness, I don't mind it because it's not like she's out there just flagging and shooting whatever. Usually her aggressiveness is going to the rim. So even if she misses, it's not really causing like long run outs because the ball ain't bouncing everywhere.
That's true.
My thing with her is like she just has to see the court better. Every time you drive, you don't have to drive to look the score all the time. You can drive to look the pass. You can collapse the defense, get in the paint, and now you have Chrissy out there, you have Chelsea, you have a little bit more shooters out there. You can drive to look the pass. So for me, I think the next step for her is continuing, to get better defensively, but just having more of a idea about how to conduct the offense and run a team.
Okay.
I think many times I saw her start to develop it near the end of the season, but I feel like she didn't really know how to run a team. Mm-hmm. Kind of thing, and I think that's the next step for her is knowing how to run a team. Mm-hmm. Personally,
yeah, I think it's great that she's back. I don't think there's a better place in the WNBA for her, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think it would have been nice to see her go overseas and like play. It doesn't appear that she's doing that, but as long as she's in the gym and she's committed and she's working out and she's getting direction from the team, getting direction from Coach T, getting direction from Derek Fisher, and she knows what they want her to do and she's accepting what they want her to do, I think she'll have a great second season.
I agree. I think she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just would have been nice to like see her be able to apply what they want her to do overseas, like everybody else pretty much on the roster that is of that caliber is doing.
But it doesn't mean she's not getting better.
Right. I said just to see her apply it. Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah. Look, hopefully she's in the gym working on new skills, working on, new skill sets. So when she comes back, there's no tape on her and she's a whole different player. And, teams have to go get new tape on her and see what she's doing this year because the tape last year don't apply no more.
Yeah. Like I'm looking forward to like those minutes when it's Christy Toliver and Taya Cooper at the same time on the court. Like that's gonna be kind of nasty.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that's going to be aggressive. I mean, players who are going hard, players that can kind of switch and do some of the same things. You know, they similar size. You know, although Taylor Cooper is a pretty strong player for her size, but restricted free agents across the league. The only two that I could see the Sparks going after, and I don't know if they would do it in like a straight offer way, but if somehow Alicia Gray wants to come to the Sparks, I feel like you got to make it work, because I think for a lot of the season, she was the second best player, sometimes even the first best player on the Dallas Wings. Mm-hmm. She'll give you a score. She'll give us size at the three that they haven't really ever had, that as long as you and I have been following the team or covering the team. So that's a big guard. And then apparently Candace Parker has a familial relationship with Kayla Davis. That's her god sister. So, I mean, I don't know. Candace might want her god sister on the team.
I mean, to me, looking at that list, I just Sammy Wickham. I mean, I don't know how light
you can't. No, I didn't even mention that, because Sammy, you can't tell me that somebody not gonna throw 150 at Sammy Wickham.
Exactly. Like, this probably not gonna happen. But if I look at that list, to me, that would be the one person, because again, I can shooting. They just need guards that can shoot.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with that.
Be effective.
So if we move to unrestricted free agents, the Dream only have two. At one point, you could tell me that Glory Johnson would have been good for the Sparks. Not now, not with as many front court players as they have, or we're projecting them to have. Laney, you try to get Laney?
No, I don't think that they need, but also I'm not the person that thinks that they need huge acquisitions. I'm
not
they need, unless they can, they are a guard who can shoot and don't need the ball to be effective. I'm probably not gonna tell you that they need them. They don't need no
and somebody, because the only thing about Laney is you could technically play Laney at like that three. And so she could replace Sykes if you got to that point. What does she shoot? She shoots all right. I'm not exactly sure what her shooting percentage is. I think it's close. Are you looking it up?
I'm gonna Google it real quick.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep going down the list while you do that. So Chicago, they have Colson, Parker, and Faulkner. They don't need Sydney Colson. They can't afford Cheyenne Parker, and they don't need Faulkner. So I mean, there's nothing from the sky that the Sparks are gonna want. How much?
40%.
Yeah, you want that.
They're gonna let her get away though.
No, they're not. No, that's a person who could get close to a max. That was the person who got cut by the Fever last year before the Wubble, got signed with the Dream, came out of there and did her thing. And I talked about it previously, like, everybody was like, oh, where'd she come from? I'm like, this was a player, in her college days that was playing for Team USA at that level. So, I mean, that's the thing you got to remember. Like, all of these players in the WNBA are, if they're not all American, they at least all conference.
You talk about women who will probably all misses basketball next state.
Right. Can you imagine if the NBA was down from 30 teams to 12 teams? You know how great them teams would be?
It would be like back in the 80s.
It'd be better than that.
Really back in the 60s, but
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? So like you kind of got to think about the WNBA in that perspective. So Connecticut, I don't know the status of Alyssa Thomas's injury.
Did she have surgery?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with her. But Sparks can't afford her. Jasmine Thomas is not coming off anybody's bench. Essence Carson has already played for the Sparks a long time ago. Maybe that's a person where if you do 11 players, when you get to the point where you can afford 12, you bring somebody in like that, like in the season, because it's a vet. Other than that, I don't see anybody on that team. That's the thing. Like, we're starting to run out of free agent options for what they need. When you look at the Fever, I don't see anybody. I mean, I guess you could say Erica Wheeler if you want her to kind of replace Raquana, but she's not. She's worth more.
She ain't coming.
She's worth more. Sparks, we already ran through them.
Vegas, I mean,
McBride, McBuckets.
She's not. No, that's who's coming off the Achilles in Vegas.
Oh, that's Plum. They can't. She's under contract. But Kayla McBride is available, and Kayla McBride could be a person that she could be a person if Sykes is gone. That's a person you could target.
That's one player that would be. I would put that top 3.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't put her above Sykes because we already know what Sykes has done and will do for this team. But if you want shooting, what does Kayla McBride do?
Shoot the ball.
Exactly. Minnesota, they don't have anybody. You want Zowie B? There's nowhere for her to play.
For the player.
I got laughed at when I said that the Sparks should call Diana Taurasi and ask her if she wants to play.
I mean, you call her, but like at the same time, it's just like, why?
Right.
You could. I mean, if you want to call her, bring over. Come on. So especially if fans could come. Oh, you mean tell me fan? Oh, I'm showing up. We got Candace, we got Taurasi, I am showing up. I'm going.
I don't want to get into it other than on every show I come on, I always say, expect the unexpected. The Sparks have to, make those calls, do their due diligence, and just be open to any possibility, because before the season or before last free agency, we ran down this same list of the previous players, and we didn't even mention Simone Augustus because you and I didn't think there was a possibility in the world that she would leave in the Lynx.
Go back to
or the Lynx. Yeah, we didn't think she would ever leave Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, I'll just say that Alicia Clark is interesting because the Storm, Cord, Natasha Howard, which means she's getting the 221. You talk about somebody who should be paid that same price. That's pretty much Sue Bird. So the Seattle Storm could be running out of money pretty soon. Or the Storm could get to a point where they feel like they have to match Sammy Whitcomb for some reason.
Get to that point.
Yeah, but the Storm should not let Alicia Clark go, but I don't know. The thing about it is, like, all of these players, they all know each other. Half of them have played with each other at some point overseas. So they have these different relationships that you and I, we really don't know about. They have these different friendships that we don't know about. So if for some reason Alicia Clark is like, hey, I'm trying to come over here and teach y'all how to do what I'm doing, I want to come over here and be y'all Elena Beard.
Who can shoot?
Right. You let it happen. Is it going to happen? Probably not. But you make that call.
Yeah, if I had to pick 2 free agents out for them to, like, actual free agents for them to call, I would actually pick. I would think Alicia Clark would be number 1 on my list.
Definitely.
McBride would be second.
Yep.
And then for the hell of it, I would honestly call Diana, just for like the hell of it.
Well, I would call Clark.
Oh,
I would call Ariel Powers.
Fair.
Then I would call McBride.
Fair.
But I would call Powers because we were talking about her last year when she wasn't available. And now she's available. And
fair. You're right.
They've got a lot of things to think about, because how much are you paying Tina Charles? Are you paying Tina Charles for past performance or future performance? Tiana Hawkins, how much you gonna pay her? Are you super maxing Emma Meeseman, even though Emma Meeseman has to do stuff with the Olympic team?
No, I don't think she deserves super. I think.
Wait, you say you don't think Meeseman deserves super max?
Max.
Okay.
Based off her performance last year, I'm not giving her a super max.
I mean, I feel you, but
Max, though, yeah.
I'm not the GM.
Max for sure, though.
I'm not the GM over there.
This is true. She's coming up at a great time.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about Liz Cambage being cored? Do you have any reservations about that? Because I believe this happened to her in Dallas, and we saw what happened there.
I mean, it's really up to Liz. Like, does Liz like playing for Vegas? I also honestly think Vegas doesn't necessarily need her.
Right.
I think
they made the finals last year.
I think Asia Wilson plays better when Liz isn't next to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they necessarily need her.
Right.
But it's really up to Liz. Like, Liz isn't somebody who needs basketball. I also think Liz has, I can't speak for the lady, but I think she has other interests outside of basketball.
Right.
So it's really
she is training right now for basketball. She's getting ready to play basketball. She just won the championship in the Australian League.
She is
this last season.
So
she's ready to play basketball.
So it's just up to her and up to whatever really she wants to do, honestly.
You know what I find interesting, and I don't know how they're going to do it, but I think this is something that Derek Fisher would like to accomplish. I think he would like to have more height on the Sparks. And now as general manager, I think he would really like to have more height on the Sparks, because you look at some of these teams, you have 6'9" Brittany Griner, you have 6'8" Liz Cambage, you have 6'7" Tierra McCowan, you got some of these, 6'6" Sylvia Fowles, you got some of these really tall players, and the Sparks are putting NECA or Candace up against them. And I bet he would love to have himself have a 6'8", 6'7" player. I don't know how they accomplish it, but I bet he would like to have one. If he had to have, excuse me?
Are you like talking about them getting Liz?
No, because you can't afford Liz now, because Liz has been cored, and that's the thing. It was very smart of the Aces to do that, because that limits the amount of teams that she can go to. Because when you core her, even if you somehow move her past, that's still the salary that she's going to end up with. And so that's just not going to happen. No, so I bet Derek Fisher would love to have Liz Cambage.
I wouldn't love it for the Sparks, but I've been against that every single time you've mentioned.
I bet he would love to have Liz Cambage, Tabrazi, everybody. He'd probably love to have Team USA if he could manage it.
Facts.
So as much as the league put the constraints on the teams by, you say, oh, we raised this contracts almost 100%, but then the salary cap 30%, they were smart. Because if they would have raised it much more, you would really have some super teams. You would really have people just getting together, playing with their friends. You'd have about 5 Olympians on one team. And then you would have some true imbalance in the league. I wouldn't mind it either.
I think for the W that would actually be good.
Like it would be.
Like if you had a team where you had, I don't know, a whole bunch of marquee names, and one was in the West and one was in the East, or even still if those two teams, like let's say LA and Vegas create a super teams. That's great. Mm-hmm. That is incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well,
yeah. Imagine if some of those young players that look up to Candace Parker that are of similar positions could play with her, like Asia Wilson or Breanna Stewart. I know they love where they play now, and they're the anchor of their franchises. And I'm not saying that they're going to come to the Sparks, but I'm just saying, imagine if they could.
I also think you already do have some quote unquote super team in the league. I think Seattle's a super team.
The Sparks are a super team.
Sparks are a super team. I think Vegas has the potential to be one.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about?
They get one more player, they're gonna be a super team. Yeah,
exactly. Like
because you still have Angel McCoughtry.
Exactly. I mean, even you were talking about Asia, having an MVP caliber year. Well, didn't she win MVP? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she won
MVP. Mm-hmm. Her having an MVP year and then bringing it back to Liz Cambage.
Right.
I mean, you talking about two MVPs basically in your front court, and you have Angel McCoughtry. I think that they have a super team. I think
Hamby, Jordan Brand Hamby.
I think that in theory, Phoenix has a super team. In theory, they got a super team.
And they never play together at the same time, though.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But in theory, I think they have a super team. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it should be an exciting off season. I don't know if we'll see as many fireworks as we saw last year, which was like probably the craziest one in history, or at least since I've been super locked in with it. I mean, it was like we saw a lot of movement that I didn't expect. I think we will see a big move or two this year. And like I said, if I think one person leaves the Sparks, I'm sad to say it, I think that it would be Chelsea Gray. If we see anybody like leave, I think it'll be Chelsea. Out of
I respect what you're saying. My opinion is that they'll all be back, but I 100% respect what you're saying because you make valid points.
I would love to see it, and I I would prefer them give it a shot with this roster before they start to make, big changes. Give it give it an actual shot with the team that you signed before you start to go out and like, you know what, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. Run it back and put the team that you signed on the court. Because personally, I think they got everything that they need to win. I don't understand. I mean, yeah, you could maybe add this here or there, but when I look at the roster, I think that they got everything that they need. They just got to figure it out.
There's still time for Chelsea Gray to get her supermax down the line. And the supermax will continue to go up every year. By the time Chelsea Gray is really into supermax for multiple years, she'll be looking at $250,000.
She could maybe sign a 1 year or something like that with the Sparks.
Well, she had a 1 year last year. I don't know how I feel about just keep signing 1 years. It gives you flexibility, yes, but
it depends on what, but also it like depends on what the Sparks want to do. Like, because if you flame out early, you may be like, I think the Sparks are in a win now, go for a situation. You can't keep this team together too much longer. Like, Candace is already older. Christy is older. NECA, she's not old, but she's getting older. Shanae, she may have her focus. Obviously, she loves basketball, but she is a person where she doesn't have to play ever again. Like, the things that she'll do off the court, NECA too, both of the things that they'll do off the court will be much better than things that they would do on the court. So maybe if you're Fish, you're in a situation where you kind of want to keep the deals to shorter deals. Maybe you wanted 2 years. Maybe you want everybody to be up when Candace leaves. Maybe you want everybody to be up when, whatever, however you want to do it. So that would be maybe why you would want to entice shorter deals, just so that, like, you can give it a shot, go all in. And if it don't work, you move on.
But what do you do when you offer shorter deals on 2K, GM Pappy?
What you mean?
When you offer a 1 year deal, normally what do you do on 2K?
I used to do team options, 1-and-1.
Well, what I was trying to get you to say is you pay a premium.
Yeah.
You pay for a lesser contract. You either get a discount over more years, or you pay up for 1 year.
Yeah, you do.
So that's another consideration that they really have to think about. But I'm excited about free agency. I agree with you. I don't know if we'll see as much like crazy player movement as we saw, because we also have to think about, there's a nice draft coming in. There are players who played in the Wubble who will never play in the WNBA again. There are some players who decided to sit out for various reasons who may never get back in. So there's always so much flexibility. I think the Sparks, if they can bring over some of their one or two of their overseas contracts, and that be the 12th player, I think that'd be smart too, because you're looking at the salary. You're looking at what you can get out of a player for $58,000. So I think that's going to be very important for them, is just trying to figure out how many quality players can we get at the bare minimum salary range.
Agreed.
So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to convince somebody who's already been playing most of the year overseas to come over here and play for less than $60,000. That's a tough ask. But if, somehow you're able to convince them, or, use a past teammate of theirs to relay that, like, this is the year the Sparks are going to win the championship, you should be a part of it, then I think you have an opportunity to bring over overseas players, even sign a free agent or two that you don't really think the Sparks had a chance to sign. If you can convince them that this is the year, like, this is the year you will play, you will get an opportunity to be a part of this. We're going to open up our rotations, and it might not be your night every night, but one night is going to be your night to shine. Like, that's part of my pitch, is that everybody, I don't want to say everybody eats, because, we saw that at the end of the bench, like, it's going to be limited. Huh?
When you win, everybody eats, because everybody look good.
That's true. Everybody get paid after this.
Everybody wins.
So we'll have to see what they'll do. So final predictions. We'll come back as soon as we can, but final predictions. Is the big three staying? You got one.
I'm going to say no.
And you're still saying Chelsea is the one to go?
Yeah, it's not gonna be Candace.
Okay. I am going to say that the big three stays.
Okay.
Because Candace is staying, therefore Chelsea is staying, because that is her person in the WNBA.
Fair. I'm not mad at it. I hope they do, but I'm gonna say yeah.
Unless you're telling me that the Sacramento Monarchs is about to get a franchise and Chelsea is going to be reallocated there, which ain't happening, then yeah. Oh, that was another thing I wanted to mention to you. So I was talking on Clubhouse yesterday, and we started talking about WNBA, and we were talking. It was some Toronto Raptors fans. So shout out to the Toronto Raptors fans on Clubhouse. I know y'all going through some things with your team.
They should trade Siakam.
Oh man. I don't think the Clubhouse people agree with you, but I will tell them that somebody said that. Trade Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have to get into this offline because I don't think this is appropriate for the Spark Report. But trade Siakam.
Yep.
If you're saying trade Siakam, then you might as well be trading some of these Sparks.
No, not yet, because I think that this is like, again,
because what you gonna get for Siakam?
You're gonna get a 1-year deal, some picks, and his contract off the books. I don't want to.
What's wrong with his contract?
About to get paid $30 million for the next 4 years, and you're gonna be stuck in a situation in which you're gonna be
Blake Griffin making $50 million.
Yeah,
I don't care about a $30 million contract.
Yes, but Blake contract ends next year, so his contract's coming off the books soon. And also, the Pistons happen to suck, so they still finna get their draft pick. The Raptors are in a situation where you might be a team who ends up from like the 8th to like the 5th spot in your conference, which is the worst place to be in the NBA. Suck, get bad.
I think if this is the year for the Raptors to be bad, they should just be bad. Get that pick. Get your Cade Cunningham. Get your Jalen Green. Get your Evan Mobley.
Pay him with Van Vliet and OG.
You got to keep Siakam.
No, you don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, but his name is so fun to say.
Yep. You can fun to say it somewhere else. Get him out of there. No, you don't. And you got Boucher, who been better than Siakam in my opinion this year.
Man, I gotta tell him about you, man. I'm gonna ping you into the next time I jump into the Raptors room.
Text me. Yeah, text me, and then ping me, and then like I'll go on Clubhouse.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna get you in that Raptors room. So this is the last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. So, and I was talking to them how like the WNBA started and how in the beginning you were able to allocate players, and like so. Lisa Leslie went to the Sparks because she went to USC and she's from Inglewood. So she had an LA connection. Cheryl Swoops had the Texas connection. So she ended up on the Comets. So you had things like that. What would you think if, when the league expands, I don't say not if, but when.
If you allocated players, no.
Yeah, if there was some sort of reallocation of players, or you allocated the new players, because imagine how popular a Portland WNBA team would be, which they used to have one a long time ago, would have been if Sabrina Ionescu was on their team. It'd be a continuation of Oregon.
Yes, but I would rather
imagine how popular the Charlotte Sting would be, Dawn Staley's former team, if Asia Wilson was allocated to the Charlotte Sting. It'd be a continuation of South Carolina basketball.
Yeah, but the issue with that is I would rather have those two people in the markets known as New York City and Las Vegas.
I hear you.
I would much rather have Sabrina in New York City in the Barclays Center than whatever she's going to do in Portland in the MEDA Center.
I hear you.
I do think the league should expand, but I don't think that they should do the allocation of players like they did when the league first started. I think when the league first started, it was a great idea because you did have franchises in marquee cities where you need to get players to these cities. Like you have to have a Lisa Leslie on the Sparks because it's your LA team, and your LA team is always going to be one of your
that's Lobo was on the Liberty.
Exactly. Like the Liberty have to have a good player who's in that market. The Comets have to have a good. Houston's a top 5 market. it has to have a good player that's, you know, in that market. But right now, where the league stands right now, no, I don't think you do that. I think that if you bring some more teams, you know, you give them the first or second pick or whatever in the draft. You do
imagine Kia Nurse on the Toronto team. Canada's own Kia Nurse on the Toronto WNBA team.
Expansion draft, that's cool, and they can protect however many of their players, like they do in, you know, the NBA.
Yeah, but the Liberty ain't gonna just give her up. I mean, they might, but they might if they want to get off her contract.
Exactly. Yeah. So like they might.
But I don't know. I just think certain markets could be interesting to have certain players on those teams. I think it could help carry those teams in the beginning.
I think getting number one pick could help carry those teams in the beginning.
Huh?
I think getting a number one pick would help carry those teams in the beginning.
I mean, possibly, but I mean, when was the last? Well, no, you're right. Because no, the number one picks when they're good, they're great. Candace Parker, Asia Wilson, Sue Bird. When they're good, they're great.
There you go.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because I mean, Candace Parker was the number one pick, and she was the best player in the league. Asia Wilson was the number one pick a couple years ago, and she was one of the best players in the league. Same thing, Brianna Stewart. No, you're right. You're right. So, but how are you going to decide who gets the number one pick? Because you're not just going to bring in one team at a time. Coin flip. Man, it would suck to be the next team getting the number two pick. You got to give me an incentive for not getting the number one pick.
No, you don't.
Then no. This is the thing. So if you don't get, this is what I would do. So if you bring in two teams at a time and you guarantee that, you know, they get the first and second picks in the draft, then whoever doesn't get the first pick in the draft should get the first pick in the expansion draft. When the teams have to get rid of a player. I think that would be fair.
Yeah, it's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So if you do it like that.
Isn't that what happens anyway usually? Or
I don't know. It's been so long that there's been an expansion draft. I don't even know.
I think the expansion draft usually happens before the draft, but still, I would assume know the order. So yeah, the team who loses the coin flip, you get the first pick in the expansion draft.
But if they could get to 16 teams, I think they'd be doing something. Because I still contend that it's kind of tough. It's kind of rough for me to see 75% of the league make the playoffs. 8 out of 12 teams should not make the playoffs.
I agree.
8 out of 12, that's fine, but 75% of the league should not make the playoffs. Can you imagine if 75% of the NBA made playoffs? That'd be what? 24 teams?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, they tried a little play-in game to make it, you know.
That's still not that many. That's a little bit over half.
I mean, that can even be discussed in that time.
That's still too much.
I feel you.
I don't want to see the 10th seed try to make. This is not the NCAA tournament.
Let's end on this. I want you to give me two cities and with a quick explanation of why you would, if they do expansion, where would you like to see the teams go to?
Okay, thank you for this question. I just talked about this. I'll talk about it again. I will say the first city, San Francisco. There's way too much money in the Bay Area to not have a team. There's way too much basketball culture in the Bay Area to not have a team. I don't see how the Warriors ownership or some of their friends that want to be involved in basketball can break off a few coins, pay a fee, and get themselves into the league. And then I think the legacy of the Houston Comets means that they should have a team as well. The legacy of winning the first 4 championships in the league, 4 straight, like they got to bring that back. Bring that back, and then I bet one of them Magumba K's would be on that team, if not both, or 3.
That I was gonna say San Francisco was the first place that jumps out to me, and then I'm with you. I think that it's a shame that they don't have a team. I think that the merchandise would do crazy numbers.
Right. If they brought back the merchandise right now, it'd be top seller.
Yeah, like I mean, can you imagine walking into the stadium and going, you know, being able to get a Cheryl Swoops jersey? So like those are the I mean, and even when you think about WNBA, I mean, to me, still the Houston Comets are still one of the teams that you think about. Like if I call my dad right now and like ask him what the name of the team in Houston was, he'll probably know. If I asked what the name of the team in Seattle was, he might not know. You know what I'm saying? So I still think the comments are still a marquee franchise, even though they're not there. So yeah, Houston, and then I'm with you with the Bay Area. Like it doesn't. The Bay Area is probably one of the fastest expanding markets. You need a team out there.
And if it wasn't those two, then you got to put a team in Florida.
Where though? Because I was thinking Miami, but nah.
Miami.
The reason why I would say nah because Miami during the summer, nah. I would probably say maybe
they play inside.
Yeah, but I'm saying no because like people have a problem coming to Heat games.
True.
When LeBron was there.
True.
Maybe Tampa is a city I'm watching. Tampa is a city I'm watching because they're currently housing the Raptors. So like I would love to know how I would just love to know how basketball translates there.
Tampa does not need professional basketball. Okay. They want to go watch professional basketball, they can go to Orlando. It's not that far.
Yeah, but there's nothing else to do in Tampa. And they got a football team, and they have
supported
football, and they have supported the Bucks through really only a couple winning seasons for like 40 years.
That's true, but they barely support their baseball team, and every once in a while, their baseball team makes it to the freaking World Series.
They've been there for 20 years.
Not in Tampa though. The team is based in St. Pete, and they can barely decide if they want to build them a new stadium or not. That's a whole different discussion about teams getting free stadiums, but I don't think Tampa can support another professional team. Personally,
they already got an arena.
But to your point, they often get the women's Final Four.
Tampa.
Okay, give them one. What you gonna call them?
I don't know.
The Tampa, I don't know.
That's for somebody else to figure out. I don't know. Call them something.
Yeah, I don't even know what it would be. But all right, y'all. It's been the Spark Report. You can hit me up on Twitter at John W. Davis. Tell me what you think about Sparks free agency, WNBA free agency. Tell me some sleeper that needs to end up on the Sparks that I don't know about. Tell me who it is. Pavy, where can we find you at?
As always, man, find me on Twitter at Pavy World, Pavy World, all one word. And I have a new song dropping on Tuesday. So go check that out when you guys see it. And congratulations on all those streams on Spotify. Thank you. All right, y'all. It's been the Spark Report. John W. Davis, Pavy. Peace.